Hey, Clint Mason with Kaizen Well Solutions. We got about a 3-minute presentation talking about inspecting lubricator threads. Got a couple out there, but this one's real short and to the point, mostly talking about gauges. So we typically use two styles of gauges. The very first one you're seeing is one that we would use out in the field. And when we pull out the lubricators on location, and we'll do just a quick thread form looking for any stretching. And as you can see, if you put those gauges down on those threads, they should fully engage. And then as the examples move across, you'll see that there's a point where we'll start seeing a thread stretch. And typically that's the last thread engaged in the flow tee will start to stretch. And when you put the gauge on it, it no longer uh, engages all the threads properly. So that's a clear indication that there's a problem, and we would typically replace the lubricator. The second gauge we're going to look at is much more on the manufacturing side, and we'll use this type of thread gauge, and you could use it in the field as well. But basically, it spins on. It not only checks to make sure that the threads are properly, they're not stretched and stuff, but it also checks the OD to make sure you're getting proper engagement. And where the thread gauge ends, and then you've got to measure it with a caliper to make sure you're within the tolerances plus or minus, and you'll see in the video examples or seeing them as we're going. The last thing we need to really cover off is, why is this happening? Well, there's a couple things. Why is it happening? And also the second part is in looking inside the lubricator, making sure we're not seeing any damage to the inside of the lubricator. Now, typically damage to the inside of the lubricator is caused by the plunger hitting the lip and bouncing off and pounding the material out. And that's almost always a result of improper installation where they didn't remove the flow tee. And why that's important is because when the well's flowing and you've got flow coming out of the flow tee, that plunger comes up, gets sucked over to where that flow path is, and then it runs up with inertia and slams into the bottom of the lubricator where the thread edge is. And over time, it pounds that out and create all sorts of damage. It can also damage your plunger and damage your wellhead and stretch all sorts of things. Now, typically, my final comment on this is that lubricators should be inspected yearly if they're threaded. And I would always recommend to go to a flanged inlet versus a thread. I know people are always concerned about cost, but you'll find that a flanged inlet lubricator is going to last for many, many years with no problems compared to a threaded lubricator. And they're just, several times stronger. Don't care whose manufacturer is. A flange is going to handle the impacting much better than the thread does. So low pressure or high pressure, it doesn't matter. Low pressure can have extreme high velocities in the plunger, a lot of kinetic energy, and that's what's stretching the lubricator. So long story short, inspect your threads, use proper gauges. They should be done yearly. And if you have a choice, if you can make it that, make sure your well heads are flanged and your lubricator inlet is flanged. And you'll have a lot fewer problems throughout the history with your wells and a lot longer service life. Thanks. Have a great day.